Good afternoon, AGM. Ben Cockburn, Northumbria branch, and currently my privilege to serve as Napo's National Chair. I want to personally offer a welcome to those members attending and our guests. So in the years since the last AGM, we've seen this union continue to campaign for and represent its members and their interests. Across probation and family courts, we've pursued our common goals to try to achieve improved pay as well as better terms and conditions for members, while also defending the professional nature of both our fields of work. I think the new format in the draft annual report that we'll discuss in coming sessions does a great job in setting that out in a tangible way for members, and I'd suggest it's another valuable tool that we could use in ongoing efforts to recruit more members. When I spoke at AGM last year, I said the one thing I wanted us to try to improve on was better reflecting the work this union is doing, and in my opinion, this new format for the annual report achieves that. I wanted to offer my thanks to those of our staff who have driven this change to our annual report forward and produced this excellent detailed summary of so much of the work we've done. Can I have a round of applause for them, please? It would be remiss of us not to talk about the shocking incident that occurred in a probation office in Preston in July, so I'm going to do that at the outfront of this speech. Our thoughts remain with the workers involved, their families, friends and colleagues. This has had a significant impact on me, and I know this has had for many members too. While we're always aware of the risks involved in the work that we do, an incident of this kind taking place will have lasting effects on all of us. Clearly, there are ongoing court proceedings as well as an internal investigation that's yet to publish its findings, and I'm unable to offer any more in the way of specific comments at this stage. I will say that Napo continues to work with the employer and support members in the branch in relation to this horrific incident. We'll continue to do all we can to promote the health and safety of our members and the wider workforce, having more to say on this specific incident as soon as we're able to. More generally, every day since last year's AGM, we've seen Napo continue to work for our probation and family court members on an individual, local and national level. I use that phrasing deliberately, as it's vitally important to remember that ours is a collective movement. It is one of the most personally disheartening things I hear or read when a member asks about what Napo has done or is doing for them or about a particular issue. I've always taken that as indicating a disconnect, either an issue of us not communicating well enough or, more importantly for me, that we're not being clear that part of our trade unionism that we're involved in is a collective endeavour. It's not about us and them, it's about we. What are we doing on a certain issue? How are we delivering for members? What action have we taken? The starkest example recently of the dangers if we don't address this apparent disconnect is a result of the formal ballot on industrial action for probation members in England and Wales. So while the members who voted did so overwhelmingly in favour of action short of strike action, 97%, as well as strike action, and an astonishing 90%, only 46% of members voted, meaning that we fell short of the 50% threshold for holding lawful industrial action at this point. While deeply disappointing and personally incredibly disappointing for me, this needs to be taken by all of us as a call to action. Our National Executive Committee in September agreed with proposals on urgent work to support branch development and engagement, as well as a renewed communication strategy. And following a recent meeting of the branch chairs and others, this action will be ramped up from next week in continuing preparation of the next ballot to come and achieving a successful outcome for all members involved. Napo is a trade union and professional association which seeks to promote unity, inclusivity, tolerance and compassion for those in need. In recent months, we've seen the spread across the UK of protests initially focused on premises housing people seeking asylum, often under the pretence of safeguarding others, and a campaign involving the erection of flags or painting colours onto often public property. There is clear evidence that these campaigns originated with and are being orchestrated by far-right groups, with their intentions being to intimidate or harass others in our communities while promoting their racist and fascist ideologies. This is being fuelled by ignorance and disinformation spread on social media and promoted by politicians or other public figures who seek to profit, and in some cases quite literally profit, from division and discord. The notion that some of those who venerate politicians such as Margaret Thatcher or Donald Trump then claim to be the authentic voice of working people in this country is a sick joke. The influence of some of the most rich and powerful people in this country and internationally, and their contribution to this environment of fear, is also a matter of public knowledge. As ever, they promote a lazy narrative, if not motivated solely by racism and xenophobia, then done so to distract from the horrific impact of decades of neoliberalism, the privatisation of public goods and the hollowing out of services in our communities by austerity They hope that we will focus more on the pounds currently spent on asylum seekers than the billions stolen from us during this time. Sorry. In response to all this, we say again that Napo is, has been and will remain profoundly anti-racist as one of the fundamental tenets that should and will underpin who we are and what we do. The trade unions of this country are the genuine and consistent voice of working people and have been for over 150 years. Napo will continue to play its part to the fullest extent possible as part of a wider movement to resist the promotion of fear, hate, intolerance and division. And I want to take this opportunity to make some comments on the sentencing bill, currently working its way through Parliament. Napo welcomes some of the general principles underpinning the current sentencing bill. For example, the move to curtail the use of short-term prison sentences and more use of community-based options. This approval extends to some specific sentencing provisions within the bill itself, such as the end of post-sentence supervision and rehabilitation activity requirements, which Napo and its membership have long worked for. However, it remains the case, and we have made no secret of this in our public comments and discussions with the government, that due to the existing workloads crisis, which has worsened over years, the probation service is simply unable to implement the bill in its current form should it become an act of Parliament. It is not scaremongering, but a realistic view of the future to say that unless HMPPS takes the current actions we have campaigned for consistently, going way above and beyond their timid and ineffective proposals implemented so far or planned, this sentencing bill is fundamentally unworkable on the most basic of levels. As Napo said throughout our history, and as the current government acknowledges, probation has a central role in the criminal justice system of England and Wales. This bill, for all its shortcomings and concerning provisions, in some respects reinforces this. But if the probation service are unable to deliver key elements of a future sentencing act, then its core aims, such as the reduction of the pressures of prison overcrowding, will also be in jeopardy. Napo are similarly concerned on the failure of the bill to consider the ways in which, using the model of youth justice, people could be better diverted from the criminal justice system altogether. Its punitive tone might reflect what the government thinks is a need to sustain the prevailing narrative of recent decades, but represents a lost opportunity to restate the case for rehabilitation as a key element of sentencing. It shouts from the rooftops about public protection with the massive expansion of tagging, which hundreds of millions of pounds more committed to an enterprise with a well-established track record of repeated operational failures, and new restrictions to be placed on people's activities in the community. But it fails to properly acknowledge what practitioners and others with knowledge of probation work know to be the case, that creating effective, rehabilitative relationships between those people subject to probation supervision and the workers involved is a key, if not the key driver to reducing reoffending. Napo will continue to campaign as a trade union and professional association against the proposed involvement of the private sector in offering placements for those subject to sentences involving unpaid work. We cannot accept a situation where any government plans to turn public good into private profit, replacing low-paid work with unpaid work. It is base exploitation, it is the definition of forced labour, and it is not acceptable to us. Similarly, we fundamentally oppose a proposal that would enable the publication of the photographs and names of people serving sentences involving unpaid work. This 21st century equivalent of use of the stocks is wholly inappropriate, given the almost certain greater public exposure provided by social media. It is not unreasonable to see this proposal as increasing the risk to those serving sentences to repercussions from others in the community, which might also mean an increased risk to unpaid work staff working with the individuals if they are present too. There is a wider consequence to this which the government may or may not have considered. This is the impact this will likely have on families, particularly any children, of those involved, and their increased likelihood of public shaming. Children already suffer when a parent or loved one commits a crime, and this proposal will further exacerbate this suffering. So finally, I want to turn to what this means for us, all of us, taking part in this AGM over the next few days and the wider membership as well over the coming year. What it means is continuing to do what we can to promote this union in the wider workforces in whatever way we can. Our collective strength and voice increase with each new member. In addition to this, we need to continue to increase the level and spread of activist members, people such as yourselves and representatives, across all branches and sections of Napo, building on the progress we're already making. It also means maintaining our work and campaigning on issues of concern for our members, some of which I've referenced in the speech, both related to our employment and those more widely affecting the communities we live and work in. This work is hard and often the demands placed on all of us are relentless. While we need to learn from setbacks, we also need to remember the victories we achieved, and we have achieved victories in the past year. The confidence we can take into the next fight comes from knowing that we are both greater than some of our parts and absolutely united in our intention to work for each other. To close, I hope all individually you enjoy AGM and take as full a part in the proceedings as you're able. Solidarity all. Thank you.